Hello everybody and welcome back to a new reading vlog. I haven't done a reading vlog in like a month. I'm here to start the second video in my this versus that vlog series, so that's great, we're getting a new one. In this video I'm doing something very exciting and obviously you can tell by the title what it is. I had this idea to do just a general reading vlog for like with this idea in mind, but then I decided to come up with my vlog series, so I thought I'd put it in as one of these. Because at the moment there are a couple or a few Arthurian retellings or YA Arthurian retellings kind of floating around BookTube, so I thought me could read them, that was a sentence, read them as somebody who is a hardcore stan for Merlin, the BBC TV show. I've never really known or learnt or read anything like that to do with the Arthurian legend apart from Merlin, so everything I know about the Arthurian legend is Merlin, and I don't take anything else as canon. I just love that show so much that that show is canon, and that show is the only version of that legend that is true to me. Call me out for it, but that show means so much to me that I can't not. Because I also want to delve into other versions of the Arthurian legend to see, just because I'm curious, because I feel like I should branch out. I'm going to be reading the Guinevere Deception and Once and Future. So this is by Kirsten White and this is by Amy Rose Capetta and Corey McCarthy. I'm going to be reading these both and both comparing them to each other, but also comparing them and seeing how I feel about them in comparison to Merlin. I just want to put a statement out here. If you have not seen Merlin before, you need to get on that game now. It is the greatest thing. I just love it. It's one of my favourite TV shows ever, and it means so much to me because I watched it from the day it came out back in 2008 to when it ended in 2012. I love it too much. It is just my life. Those characters and those stories, it's just, you know, that show that was probably from a little bit of your childhood, and it just means so much to you because it just reminds you of you being young, and it just reminds you of, it's just very nostalgic, and it just reminds you of feeling good. So I will be reading these both. They'll be the same structure as my previous one, where I read this one first and then I read this one and I update you at quarter, halfway and 3/4 and at the end of each book. I am very nervous because I feel like I'm just going to automatically hate them just because if they go anything off kilter or anything that's completely different to Merlin, I'm just gonna hate it, and I'm really worried about that. Also, excuse my hair, I don't know why it's a bit of a mess today and my skin is a mess, but it's just, you know, that kind of time of month when my skin is a bit of a mess. But I'm gonna put Once and Future down for now because we'll talk about that when I finish with the Guinevere Deception. But I've read one chapter of the Guinevere Deception. This, I didn't think I was gonna get a American paperback, but I have a love-hate relationship with American paperbacks because they're cool and they're big, but then they're annoying because they're big. I don't know I feel like I do, but I don't really know too much about either of these books in terms of synopsis, and I don't really want to. I don't want the synopsis and the knowledge of what is going to happen in these books to taint my opinion on them. I want to be able to form my opinion and have no predisposed opinion about them before I go in. I just want to know that they're Arthurian retellings, and that's really it, because otherwise I feel like I'm going to go in being like, I already hate it. As I said, I am one chapter through, and it's weird because not only do I have to kind of get used to this Arthurian retelling, I have to get used to a new author because I've never read from Kirsten White before. I have to get used to a new author and their writing style and a new book. So far, like, I'm one chapter in, so I can't really have a proper opinion. I'm nervous. I'm so nervous because so far I'm just like judging everything. I'm gonna obviously not make this spoilery, but Mordred has already popped up in this, and my knowledge of Mordred from Merlin is already swimming around in my head, is already going, well, hopefully this is what's gonna happen. If they don't do this, well, you're gonna hate it. I think what I might know about this is that Guinevere's going to Camelot to marry Arthur, so that's already different from the TV show. But she might not be Guinevere, like that might not be her true name. And we've already got two other characters who are already in it that I don't know their names, and they're not names we've seen in Merlin. And also I'm going to be picturing all these characters, like when we've already met Arthur, I'm picturing him as Bradley James. I don't care if he's got dark hair and he's got dark, I'm picturing Bradley James, and I'm picturing Angel Colby as Guinevere, even though they say that in this that Guinevere's got like long dark black hair. They haven't specifically said like her skin colour or her race, but I'm just picturing Angel Colby. Even if they say that Guinevere is meant to be white in this, I'm gonna be picturing Angel Colby. I also feel like I might end up rewatching Merlin while reading these, but at the same time I'm rewatching Supernatural at the moment. I'm gonna leave this here, we'll read some more today, and I'll probably update you tomorrow because I'll probably get to a quarter of the way through tomorrow, and we will just see what is going on, how I'm feeling about it. I'm very nervous, as you can probably tell. Hello, so we are a quarter of the way through the Guinevere Deception. I'm on about page 90, and let's just see where we're at. I think I'm going to talk about the book in general at first, just for now. I'm intrigued to see where this plot is going to go. I have been listening to the audiobook mostly alongside reading it. I've already read it like a little bit physically. It's not bad. I like it. But in terms of the plot, we know that this Guinevere has come to Camelot to marry Arthur, but also to protect Arthur from, you know, anything bad that could happen. If you know Merlin, you know that Merlin's destiny, even if it's not his goal when he comes to Camelot, his destiny is to protect Arthur. But we know that she's not Guinevere, and I think Arthur knows that she's not Guinevere. I'm not sure if anybody else knows that she's not Guinevere. I'm curious, like I'm really confused and intrigued to see what's going to happen and where this is going. But with the writing style, it's very frustrating because you get teased at her delving into her past and you're thinking, oh, we're going to find out who she is, and then one of her servants or one of the people looking after her will just jump in and bring her out of her thoughts, which means we won't find out, which I know it's, you know, it's a bit too early to find out who this person actually is. I'm trying to put words together because I don't really feel like I have a proper full opinion on the book so far. I don't love it. I'm still liking it and I'm still intrigued. Now, obviously diving into my comparison to Merlin, I think that is what is kind of hindering it, because I'm not going to spoil it. I'm not going to spoil this book and some of the characters and some of the characters' relationships and some of the characters' like backstories. Some of the characters, their relationships to other characters are different, and it's very just mind-blowing, and not mind-blowing but kind of confusing. Not confusing. Can she speak English today? No. It's more, I don't know, it kind of makes me feel like what the hell, because I'm so used to the relationships and the characterization of the characters from Merlin. So when characters like Mordred and Merlin and obviously Guinevere, all these characters have different relations to each other, and you know, they're introduced at different times and introduced not in the right times in compared to Merlin, it gets very much like, oh my god, I don't like it, because as I said, I'm very much a Merlin is canon and that's all I care about sort of viewpoint. There are some other characters that have popped up that are not like minor characters in Merlin, but are only in a couple of episodes of Merlin, and then, you know, not in it for the rest of the show. So that's really intriguing to see them as more forefrontal characters. I enjoy physically reading it more, but I am listening to it on audiobook more just because it means I can do other stuff while I'm reading it. I said when I got to 50 pages, they're saying it's different and I don't know how to feel about it. I did tab I tabbed a good moment, and it was just something that Arthur said that reminded me of Arthur from Merlin. The rest of it is yellow and green. Like, I think my couple of green moments, which are my bad moments, is once again just some of the relationships that I don't agree with, or not agree with, but I'm just completely wrong for me. As there is why I'm not saying like I'm expecting there to be loads of swear words, but it's not like a big thing that there is. But they're used in a weird context. Like, they don't swear throughout the whole of it. You know, when they're having conversations, I know them like royal people and knights of the round table and courtly people. So I'm not saying like they have to swear, but they don't swear in conversation. But when they're referring to and they're in conversation with people of the town, of, you know, you could say the commoners, the subjects, that's when the swear words are used. They call kids who basically mop up poo and mop up feces and stuff like that from the streets little shits. They literally call, like, in a sense of, that's a little person and he's collecting shit, so let's call it a little shit. When Guinevere's out for a day at the market, she meets this young girl, and I think her girl might have chickens, you know, her father might have chickens. Guinevere's being nice, she's like, oh, what are they called? And this girl goes, my dad calls them shit for brains. Why are the swear words being used in only relation to, you know, the townspeople, to the subjects? Like, I know it's maybe like social commentary or something, I don't know, being like, oh, only they would just use swear words. And it's not like shit's not a swear word for them, you know, the girl says shit for brains in front of her, and she's like really worried that she'll get, you know, killed for saying shit in front of the queen. I don't know, that's just a bit of a weird moment. I'm just kind of, I don't really take it very seriously. I'll leave this here and I'll go and read some more, because I was actually reading some before I updated. It's a whirlwind. It's a journey. It's a journey. And one you're going to come on with me, so enjoy. Hello everybody, I'm updating from my bed because I'm having a day where I'm really not feeling it, and I'm just having a day when I'm just in bed. Mental health hasn't been the best recently. I haven't bothered to get up and go and turn my camera on and film like that, so I'm sorry if I look rough, but I'm updating from here. So I am now halfway through the Guinevere Deception. I'm on about page 170, something like that. It's weird because I don't hate it and I like it, but it's just not the best, I don't think. I think maybe it's a mix of I'm not engaging 100% with the story, and also a mix of the differences between the book and the TV show are very different, that it's just kind of put me off and jarring me a little bit. I don't really think I have many specifics. I think it is just that I'm not engaging with the story as much, so I'm not enjoying it as much, but I'm still intrigued. That's the thing, like, I just want to know who she is and like what all this is about. But apart from her mentioning and saying like, oh, I've got to protect Arthur, she hasn't done much of that. This is one person that she thinks she might have to protect Arthur from, but I don't know, it's not very active. It's all very like passive. She's just saying like, oh yeah, I need to protect Arthur, but she's just like doing little stuff. I don't know. I just don't feel like the story is very strong. It's not just that I'm finding the differences between Merlin and this, you know, a bit off-putting. It is also just a story. It's not really capturing me as much. I haven't really tabbed much since I last updated, so I don't think I have too much to say. The camera keeps moving into different positions, and I apologise, I don't really vlog on my phone that much. I'm gonna keep going. I'll probably, don't know when I'll get to 3/4, but I'll probably get there maybe tomorrow or something. And hopefully it might get better and some stuff picks up and action picks up, but we'll have to see. I will catch you all when I'm there. So we are now 3/4 of the way through the Guinevere deception, so I'm on about exactly page 253, which is 3/4 of the way through. I don't know, I think as the book is slowly progressing, I'm engaging with it, and as I said before, like, not as connecting with the story as much as I was, and I'm not finding the story as good. Like, I'm still liking it, like, I don't hate it. It's a difficult one. You know when you just have that book where you almost just don't have an opinion, it's almost just borderline, but you still like it, but you just don't have a lot of passion and a lot of care behind it, if you know what I mean. I think once again it is just because I'm so much like Merlin is canon, that as this is different and as this does do things differently, and obviously it's not going to have the same storyline as maybe an episode of Merlin has, and that the characters are different and the characters' relationships to each other and in general are different, it does mean I'm just being like, that's not right, I don't like it. What I thought quite recently was, even though I'm used to Merlin and the story being set obviously years ago and when it should be, I'm used to a more refreshing modern version of it, because the Merlin TV show, despite it obviously being set when the Arthurian legend was, it's still quite a modern and refresh, as I kind of repeating my words, modern and refreshing show. Almost feels like it's very teenagery, whereas this, maybe it's the audiobook that's hindering that a bit because of the way the audiobook narrator narrates it. You know, she does it in quite a posh, regal accent, I feel like, if that's the words for it. Maybe that is also hindering it because I'm just so used to a fun, refreshing, upbeat kind of Merlin, whereas this is more kind of not dark, it's just, I don't know. And also because these characters are meant to be 16, 18, you know, Guinevere's meant to be 16 and Arthur's meant to be 18. That doesn't seem right, because the way that it's narrated and the way that it's written makes it feel like they should be older than that, adults or young adults. I'm just going to push through, and I'll probably end up finishing this tomorrow, which I'm kind of glad, because I just don't have the motivation if it was bigger or if it was longer. I'm thinking of giving it like a 3 stars, but I feel like even that's too generous. But then at the same time, I feel like I'm being harsh just because I love Merlin. I will probably think about it, and maybe I might give it like a 2.75 or something like that, I'm not sure. It's between okay and I like it, but I'm gonna leave this here because I don't really feel like I have much else to say. There probably is more that I have to say, but I just don't have the motivation to say it. Majority of the day's been good, today's been good, but I've just had a bit of a, you know, when you just spend too much time on social media and it really, like, again, it's just like a social media burnout. My mind's not doing me favours in the terms of it's telling me I've got to keep being on social media because of something in my mind that's happening, but then being on social media and keep refreshing my Twitter is really burning me out. So I'm going to go for a walk with my mum in a sec, and hopefully it will clear my mind. I will get this finished tomorrow, and depending on when I finish it tomorrow, I don't know when I'm going to wrap up this in, because I'm doing something in the evening tomorrow, so we'll see. It depends on when I actually finish it. But other than that, I will see you when I finish the book. All a girl wants is 2 weeks to go past so I can have season 3 of Dark, because the main trailer just came out today, and I just need it. I just need the season, even though I mean the show's gonna end. I just need the final season. Anyway, I have finished the Guinevere deception. I literally did it like 10 minutes ago, and I'm gonna give it 3 out of 5 stars. I think it got better by the end. You know, action kind of picked up, and you know what was happening and all the high stakes kind of stuff kind of picked up, because I think throughout the rest of the book it was kind of just cruising along. You didn't really have anything that was crazy drama, but then that kind of did pick up at the end, as I said. Even though it was good, it didn't like make the book amazing. I think overall as a book, it's good. I liked it. I think if you had no prior knowledge of the Arthurian legend, you'd probably enjoy it. You probably you know, I'm just assuming, but I think you'd probably enjoy it more because it's a new refreshing story that maybe you might not know very well. No preconceptions going in. You have nothing going, oh actually that shouldn't be like that because I know that character's meant to be that, or from watching or seeing or reading other Arthurian legends, I think that about this character in this situation. So I think that's probably why you would like it more if you don't know or haven't got any preconceptions, that's the word, preconceptions about the Arthurian legend. So because this video is me going, I love Merlin, how do I feel about this book and obviously the next book, it doesn't mean I hate it. I can see that Kirsten White is, you know, taking this story, and I don't know the proper core original legend. I just know what I know from Merlin, so what I see in Merlin that I think is different in this and I don't like in this because of what I know in Merlin could actually be what the Arthurian legend has said, but it's what Merlin is the thing that changes it. But I think because of my love for Merlin, and as I said, I always think Merlin is canon, when stuff in this happens, or character relationships and character reveals and all that sort of stuff kind of, you know, happens, and it's different to Merlin, I'm like, no. And that is what happens at the end of the book. I don't want to spoil it, but if you know the big reveal at the end of the book, I didn't like it. Because it just goes against completely what I know from Merlin. If you want to know, maybe drop a comment or like message me on Twitter if you want to know why I don't like it, because I don't want to spoil it. I saw it and I was like, it just doesn't fit. It just doesn't fit with what Merlin is, you know, what we know from Merlin. It was like a big shock, because I was like, obviously not expecting that. If I don't like it and it wasn't, you know, didn't happen in Merlin, it obviously was a big shock for me, so at least it's got that going for it. There was another kind of reveal plot twist that I guessed, not like exactly and like well guessed it, but I guessed the whole thing. Once again, if you want to know, I don't want to spoil it, DM me or something like that so you know what I'm talking about. I kind of guessed it just because what I know from Merlin. I kind of knew it throughout the whole of the book. Overall, it was good. I liked it. I don't know if I'm going to be continuing with the series. I don't think the second book is out yet. I might see what the reviews are, and yeah, but I doubt I will, just because if I didn't like this one that much, and going through it and reading it was a bit of a struggle, not of a struggle, but it was more of a, this is so different from Merlin, it's kind of hurts. If that's what it was like for this one, and which made me not like it as much, I don't know if I can do it for a second one. This is not me not recommending these books. I think if you are intrigued by them, you should definitely give them a go, see what you think about them. I think they're written very well. So if you also like Merlin, I'm not saying don't read them, I'm just saying be warned. I will now, I'm not today, but tomorrow I will read or start Once and Future, just like I did going into the Guinevere Deception. I don't really know too much about this one. The only thing I know that it might be like a gender swapped queer kind of retelling or version of it, which I'm here for, but we'll have to see if it will maybe bug me or I won't like it as much, because of the same reasons why I didn't like the Guinevere Deception as much. But I'm more intrigued by this one because it is more queer, or it is queer. I have heard that this one's overall, in terms of ratings, a lot of people might not like this one, so that's also kind of getting me a bit hesitant. I think in this we're following a girl version of Arthur. Her name's Ari, so I'm very intrigued. I will start this tomorrow. I'll catch you when I'm a quarter of the way through Once and Future. Now that I've read the Guinevere Deception and it didn't go swimmingly, I'm a bit nervous, but I'm, you know, I've got to give another book another chance. We'll see what happens and I'll catch you all then. So I'm a quarter away through Once and Future, and surprisingly I'm enjoying this one more than the Guinevere Deception. I think it is because it is a more YA contemporary feel. I feel like this one is a YA Arthurian Percy Jackson sort of feel, if you know what I mean. I didn't know that it was kind of sci-fi retelling as well, which is surprising and was a bit like what at first, but I've kind of got used to it and I kind of quite like it now. So what I've learned that this book is about is, this is kind of what I've wanted as a sequel to the Merlin TV show, because with how Merlin ended, I really wanted them to do a kind of like a few years later, but they never really did it, or probably will never do it, a sequel series to it where Merlin is now living in the modern day and he stumbles upon somebody who looks exactly like Arthur, who's obviously going to be played by Bradley James, who played Arthur in the show. That is the reincarnation of Arthur and is Merlin's next chance or other chance to restore Albion to Camelot, and maybe he would like get younger because it's now kind of returning to his youth and doing what he did when he was younger. And that is basically what this book is. I think the one problem is that the world building, and I think I always find this with sci-fis, is the world building in terms of the planet situation, like where do these people come from, what are the different planets, how do they interact, what are they in comparison to each other, are they on Earth? I don't think they are. I think Earth is this kind of like barren planet now, and I think that's the one problem with it, is I'm a bit confused and not really sure with what the planet situation is. You've got Ari and Kay, who are adopted brother and sister, and their mums have gone missing and they don't know where they are. They're still kind of like gallivanting in their planet, and this kind of, their planet is kind of taken over by Mercer. I think Mercer might be a planet, I don't know, that is kind of controlling them despite them not being a part of this government or this civilization. It's a bit confusing, that's why I'm trying to explain it. And then one time when they're on the run for the Mercer police or the government or something, they crash land onto this old Earth, onto our Earth, which is a barren Earth, and they find, or Ari finds, this sword stuck in a tree, and she obviously pulls out, which is meant to be Excalibur, and then that wakes up Merlin. That's when wakes up Merlin, who is now onto his 42nd, or Ari is his 42nd reincarnation of Arthur, which all the time he's an old man, but then when this new Arthur comes along, he kind of turns back into a young lad, and he now has to train this Arthur to kind of become its destiny of you know, being the reincarnation of Arthur. And so it's really nice actually having that, because it's kind of like I'm living the sequel that I always wanted. I think, as I said, the problems is the world building and the backstories are a bit complicated and I'm not 100% sure on them, so I don't know if that will get easier and more understood as the book goes on. I'm hoping it does. Also, this book is so unapologetically queer. You have characters who are gender fluid and characters where sexualities are fluid. Kay, Ari's brother's friend, Lamorak, who all these friends are kind of have names of Arthur's knights, and that obviously are referenced again because it shows that Ari is a reincarnation of Arthur, because Lamorak's brother is Percival and the queen of one of the planets, who is also Ari's ex, is Gwen. Kay, Ari's brother's friend, Lamorak, is gender fluid, and as I said, Gwen and Ari were exes. So when Merlin meets everybody, he misgenders Lam. They use the pronouns they and them, and then Merlin goes, oh, I'm really sorry, you know, back in my time, you know, you had male, female, she and her, and they're like, whoa, that's just like, how can you live in a world like that? And it shows that obviously this is futuristic and it's kind of developed into this world and this society where gender is just, no one cares. And obviously that is because the writers Amy Rose Capetta and Corey McCarthy, I think they are together, and I think it might be Corey McCarthy is genderqueer Elise as well, so I will triple check that. They have written this as a queer book because they are queer themselves, which is great. And also for representation and diversity, Lamorak and her brother Val, who is Percival, are black. The discussion on race and sexuality is just casual, it is just there, and they do mention it and just go, it's just part of our society, like, people are different, and what? I'm enjoying it more than Guinevere Deception just because of how it's written, and I think it's, rather than it being a retelling of the original story, this one's all about the reincarnation of Arthur. So I think that's why I like this one more, because it's not completely destroying the story I know of Merlin. It's kind of like a sequel to what I know of Merlin, and it's kind of what I have always wanted. I've been rambling for a long time now, so I will catch you when I'm halfway through, see how it progresses. So I am halfway through Once and Future. I apologise if I just seem a bit out of it. I'm just tired and just having one of those days. We are a quarter of the way through now. Quarter or half, see, my mind's not working. We are half of the way through and kind of the same old, but I still feel like it's kind of not as good at the moment. There's a lot going on, but then also not, but then also there is, and I'm kind of just getting lost, and I'm just, as kind of with the Guinevere Deception, I'm kind of like disengaging quite a lot. I don't know if it's just because I'm listening to a lot of it on audiobook, and maybe this is my downfall at the moment, is I'm listening to a lot of the books I'm currently reading on audiobook. Just because I haven't been in a massive physical reading mood at the moment, I'm not engaging with the books as much because I'm also doing stuff while I'm listening to these audiobooks, so my mind might get distracted every now and again. So I kind of need to correct that and maybe start reading more physically, because that can actually help me engage with the story more. So that's my own fault, really. I think some things just seem a bit hasty and a bit quick. There's something that happens or nearer to 100 pages, and it just seems a little bit like, okay, like I understand why they need to do it and, you know, the reasoning for it, but it just seems a bit quick. As I said before, the world building isn't super strong, but I still like it, and I like the characters and I like the concept, but as I said, just some things feel a bit rushed and I'm just not engaged, and I'm just a bit like, oh, what's going on? I think once again, as I said, audiobook doesn't help because something will be happening, but I won't be concentrating on it very well, and I just don't have the effort and the time to go back and re-listen to it. So I'm kind of like, oh yeah, I think I know what's going on, and just kind of then that's when I'll start engaging more, because I'm like, oh god, I'm not really actually understanding what's going on. That's my little problem. Maybe this whole me saying, oh, things feel rushed and doesn't feel right, and maybe the world building, that might just be my own problem. And I think I find that quite a lot, that I don't engage with some of these things as much because my attention span is shocking, and I'm very restless, and I just sometimes don't pick up on world building and stuff like that. And I think I'm a very simple reader. I'm kind of just put myself down here, but I am a very simple reader in the sense that I'm not a flowery writing person. I need stuff to be said as it is on pages, otherwise if it goes all flowery writing and very wildly descripted writing, and I'm like, just say what you're trying to say, because my brain won't let me work out what you're trying to say. Sometimes when, you know, they use metaphors and they use all this stuff to kind of flower up their writing to just when they're describing stuff, my mind just goes, just say it how it is. Might help me quite a lot. Once again, there's just some great kind of just queer talk. I just think that's one of my favourite parts about it. It's just queer, and that's it. It's just so casually queer, and I love it. One thing I have picked up within Once and Future and Guinevere Deception, which is in comparison to Merlin, is in the Guinevere Deception and Once and Future, Arthur, or this version of Arthur, whatever version of Arthur in the story, is adopted. He hasn't known since birth that like Uther or whatever is his father or whatever, or his real parentage. He's always either been brought up, so in this obviously Ari's been brought up by 2 other women, and then in the Guinevere deception he's brought up by these 2 people who may become knights later on. And I've also found it that I watched a Arthurian legend TV show called Camelot, which had Jamie Campbell-Bower in it, which is the reason why I watched it. I never finished it because I always get halfway through and just get bored. But even in that as well, he's adopted, or you know, his real parents aren't who his real parents actually are, or he's brought up to think. But in Merlin, Arthur's always known that Uther Pendragon is his dad and that Igraine is his mum. Guinevere deception, he knows that, but obviously he finds it out later when he finds out his lineage. But in this, we don't actually know Ari's parentage, so I don't know if maybe they'll have names, or her parents' names will be variations of Uther and Igraine. Also, what I've noticed is obviously the Lady of the Lake is a very important character and image and whatever in the Arthurian legend, and she's different in all 3 things, in both this, Guinevere deception, and Merlin. I'm not obviously going to spoil their names or whatever, but in Merlin, if you know Merlin, her name's Freya. The other 2 times, I forgot what it was in the Guinevere deception. I don't remember if she had a name. If she did, my mind's gone, I can't really remember it. But in this, it's somebody in Merlin who's not connected to the lake. It's weird, like, there's a name that I know from Merlin who is the Lady of the Lake. So I think overall, that's it. As I said, it feels sometimes a little bit messy. At the same time, it could just be me. It could just be me in this moment in my life when my mind's not connecting to the audiobook as much, and that also I'm listening to the audiobook more, and I'm sometimes not always obviously like engaging with the audiobook when I'm doing stuff with it. I engage and remember stuff more from films and TV shows than I do from stuff like audiobooks and books, because even though it's visual in a book, it's not being told to me. I need both like audio and visuals to properly engage with it. Just kind of shows how my brain works. So I think when I'm listening to the audiobook and I'm doing something else, my mind gets distracted, as I said. I'm hoping for the rest of the half book I'll like push myself to properly engage with it more. So I'll keep reading and I'll get you at 3/4, but I think so far it's between like a 3.25 and 3.5. So we'll probably be like a 3 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. Could get better, we never know, but I'll tell you when I get there. So we are 3/4 of the way through Once and Future, so we're nearly there. I was very unsure about my feelings, so I decided, as I've kind of done before when I'm unsure about a book, is I looked up the reviews of people obviously I follow and friends with on Goodreads to kind of see what they were saying, see if the stuff that I'm thinking, that I'm going, maybe I'm wrong, I'm actually right, or, you know, other people are thinking the same thing, and I'm correct. See, I was saying before how I feel like it's very rushed and there's loads of information and I feel like I'm not like catching up with it. That is a common theme in reviews on Goodreads. A lot of people are saying that a lot happens and a lot of information is thrown at you, but it's not done in a way for you to process and to understand the information, and that it kind of jumps around a lot, so it's very hard to understand what's happening with everything going on. So at least now I know if I'm feeling that or if I'm thinking that, then I'm not alone. Other people are feeling like it's just very jumpy and very everywhere at the moment. It's frustrating because I was really enjoying it. Like I still am. I still like it and I'm still invested and want to know what's going to happen to these characters and inevitably how this book is going to end. But I'm not so invested and so in love with it that I'm probably going to continue on with the series. If this continues, the structure and how the story is told, if this continues into the rest of the series, I don't think I could do it. I think I would end up DNFing it. And I think because of all this like jumping around with information and loads of stuff happening and it just trying hard to keep up, when stuff is said and stuff is revealed and it's meant to be shocking and it's meant to be like, oh my god, that's so crazy, it doesn't feel like that. It just kind of feels really sudden and too quick, and I'm just like, okay, well, I don't know what to do with this information, and also it doesn't feel legit. It doesn't feel like it's been executed very well because the build up to it and the rest of the story hasn't been executed and written very well. So this reveal, or whatever you want to call it, just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like it's worth it. And another aspect, which I don't think I kind of really defined it and really thought about it until I saw, I think it must be in Boston. I think in their review they said that there's a lot of insta love. If I'm wrong, if it's I've read it from someone else, I apologise, but I think it was Boston. They said there was a lot of insta love in here, which I kind of now go, yes, because there were times with some of the characters and some of the relationships that I'm like, wait, I thought they hated each other, and then suddenly they're in love. It's very insta-lovey, like, especially in the first 100 pages or nearing the 100-page mark. I think I mentioned something before in the vlog that something happened around that time and I just felt was really like paced and really quick, and I think kind of links with that is something happens in terms of relationship. 10-20 pages before you had the idea that they hated each other, and now that they've been reunited it's going to be awkward, but then suddenly they're in love. And I'm just like, okay, cool. I'm going to probably finish this book tomorrow. I'm hoping it kind of just either stays the same as it is now or maybe gets a bit better. Usually books for me do get better at the end because obviously it's got to pick up a little bit at the end to kind of wrap it up. So hopefully it will do that. So I'll catch you when I have finished Once and Future.
Once I rose above the noise and confusion, just to get a glimpse beyond this illusion, I was soaring ever higher, but I flew too high.
Play guess the song / TV show in the description below. In the description in the comments below. I finished Once and Future and I'm giving it a 3 out of 5 stars. I think definitely at the end it dips and I was kind of getting a bit sick of it and a bit tired of it, but because of my enjoyment at the beginning of the book, I've decided to give it 3 out of 5 stars. I just think it kind of dragged, not dragged, but it just got messier as it went along, as you kind of heard me say. I just felt like it was all over the place and it was hard to kind of understand what was going on, to keep up. Like I knew what was happening, but it also just felt like I didn't. It was just really complicated. For such a simple book, or book that feels so simple, it just felt too messy. But I enjoyed it. I liked it. I don't hate it, basically. I don't think I've really talked about my comparison with this book to Merlin, but I think the main reason for that is because it's different. It's not, in a sense, a retelling, it's a reincarnation. That's all I can really say about it. So I think that's probably why. Obviously they still go into the history of Arthur and like what back in those days what the story is, and there obviously are a few differences. I will say in both this and the Guinevere deception, Mordred is different in both and is different to Merlin, which really just throws me off. And some of the relationships, the family relationships, are very different in both and in comparison to Merlin, which I think makes me like them less because I'm like, no, that's not what happens in Merlin. Overall, I liked both of them. They're good. They're not amazing, but they're not bad. I think the reasons why I didn't like this one as much was the writing style. It just was a bit too medieval for me, in a sense of obviously it was set back then, and then the audiobook narration and with the writing, it made it feel too flowery, as I've kind of said. I don't really know how else to explain it, but I think you can kind of get what I mean. I've obviously said before in the vlog that I'm not really a fan of that sort of writing because I like the simple stuff. And then with this one, even though the writing style was better in the sense of it was more modern and more contemporary, the story writing and the kind of plot and all that sort of stuff was just a little bit messy. They're both the same in terms of ratings and my enjoyment of them, but for different reasons, and I dislike some of the parts of it for different reasons. I think overall, if we're doing it into a comparison of each other, there's not really much you can compare to each other because they're both different stories in a sense, but they both hold their ground for each other. So I think if you like more descriptive, flowery, period-ish books, then I think you'll definitely enjoy this one. If you like more courtly, regal writing, that's all I can really say. I think you'll definitely enjoy this one. And if you like more contemporary sci-fi sort of books, I think you'll like this one. But also bear in mind that they're not like perfect books. As in books in themselves, they're good, just not amazing. I think my main struggles with this one was mainly because of its comparison to Merlin. This one was probably more of the writing. So in a sense, in its own, this one's probably better. In terms of its comparison to Merlin, this one I think obviously delves more into, or I have more to say about its comparison to Merlin, as I've kind of already said, because obviously it's set in that time and it's literally just a retelling, but it does have its differences, and I think that's my main problem. Like, I just found some of the relationships and, you know, who is who to each other and the characteristics of some of the characters was just a bit different for me, and I didn't really enjoy it. And it not like I didn't enjoy it, I just didn't vibe with it, basically, because I'm so used to Merlin that this just felt wrong. And with this one, because it's not a then retelling or then story, it's a in the future. I've like repeated myself multiple times, I apologise. It's a now reincarnation story of Arthur. It has that advantage of me liking it more because it's got so many comparisons to Merlin. But because obviously we have the Merlin from the olden times in this book, and obviously we find out more about the Merlin back then and the Arthur back then, there are some differences which once again bugged me. I think because I'm so set in the ways of what is in Merlin is canon, as I've said, and what is in Merlin is the only thing that's true to me. When it's kind of said differently or we hear it different in these two books, I'm just like, but no. I feel like I'm repeating myself a lot, so I'm gonna just wrap this up here. As I said, overall I enjoyed them, I liked them, but they also were a bit for me. I'm not going to continue on with the series for both of them just because I don't think my enjoyment or my experience with them being different to Merlin is going to help me, or I'm going to like want to continue on with it and it's going to be, you know what I mean. I'm honestly just a mess. I just want to go and eat some food. That's why I'm rushing. So I won't be continuing on the things, but I think they're good. I definitely think you should maybe give them a chance if you're intrigued by Arthurian Arthurian legends, Arthurian retellings. If you're not really familiar with them and you haven't got any like prior knowledge, I definitely think you should check them out if you're interested in that. If you do, maybe go in it with like a dip in the toe, dip in the toe, dip in the water, toe, dip in the water, dip your toe in the water. What was that? If you have any prior knowledge to Arthurian legends, or you like Merlin, I'd say go in a bit cautious. I would have talked more, but I just feel like I can't put my thoughts down. It's weird and I'm hungry. I want food. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, let me know in the comments. Let me know if you've read any of these books and what your thoughts on them are. If you know, went into them without any knowledge of any Arthurian legends at all, or if you're like me and you're like love Merlin or any other kind of Arthurian legend, or the Arthurian legend, you're like, I didn't like it because of this, this and this. Let me know in the comments. I feel like it was a bit of a mess. I kind of didn't really think about it. I kind of just did it. I kind of just filmed whenever it came to the quarter and the half and all that sort of stuff. I didn't think, oh, it's a reading vlog, let's put some other clips of me doing stuff. But obviously I'm not really doing much at this moment because it's not like we're in lockdown, but obviously we're just still being cautious and all that. So I'm not actually going out and doing much at the moment because I can't really. So I think that's the reason why this has got no other kind of clips in it. It's just me talking. So I apologise if you're tired of my voice for like half an hour. I would be as well. But with all that said and done, I think I've ranted for a while, for a long time now. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're new around here, do not forget to subscribe, like this video, turn my notification bell on to know when I next post. And with that all said and done, if you haven't watched Merlin, go and do it. It's great. It's the most amazing show. I love it so much. And I will see you all in my next video.